Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the class. Sorry, I got a little bit delayed to start this. There's some login issues that I was having, and today's session is essentially on the CSAT exam. That's something that I've been training people for the last 10-12 years, and it's an analysis of trend and also a session on how to prepare. And we also want to introduce our program, our course for CSAT to you through this course. We have a 1-year subscription plan available for the CSAT program for the CSAT course, which I want to discuss with you and which I wanted to talk about in today's session. So this is the UPSC paper, GS paper 2 that we normally talk about. So let me just share my presentation to you. Give me a second. So first of all, we'll talk about the trend analysis of the CSAT, and I hope you can see my screen now, and of course you are able to see me. So you are with me, Arun Sharma, and we are from Mindworks, which is one of the leading test prep companies with respect to aptitude preparation. And today's session, as I told you, is a trend analysis of CSAT and also how to prepare for CSAT. And as you know, the importance of the CSAT exam. The importance of the CSAT exam is very very evident in the context that although it's a qualifying paper now in the UPSC, it's a qualifying paper in the UPSC, but if you don't qualify, your entire paper is not even evaluated. So the whole 1 year goes in your goes out of the window in case you're not able to qualify with CSAT. So before we start, a little bit about my background. My name is Arun Sharma, and I'm the CEO of Mindworks and also the chief mentor at Mindworks and at the Arun Sharma Academy. And what we basically do is, I passed out of IIM Bangalore in 1995. And after passing out of IIM Bangalore in 1995, rather than going into the corporate sector and working in the corporate sector, I dedicated my life to helping people prepare for aptitude exams and for at a critical stage of their career, aptitude and interviews, etc., and self-development, personality development work that I do through my courses and my programs. So I've been dedicating myself to that ever since 1995. So it's been 27 years since I've been training people for these exams. UPSC training experience, of course, I've been training for CAT and all the other aptitude exams like SSC, Bank PO, etc. Let me just share my screen with you. Yeah, so I passed out of IIM Bangalore in 95, and after that I dedicated myself to aptitude and personality development and self-development preparation and training. And I'm also an ex faculty with Vajiram and Ravi. In fact, the entire structure and preparation pattern of CSAT at Vajiram and Ravi was created by me along with a group of trainers who now a lot of them are with me even now. And I taught at Vajiram and Ravi from 2010 to 2015, after which I moved out because of the fact that I had got increasingly busy with my own work and I could not commit my time any longer to teaching there. We had an amicable exit. Mr. Ravindran sir and I still highly regard each other in that context. And of course, one of the reasons I also moved on was at that time the CSAT had become qualifying. During this time, CSAT was even the score of the CSAT was counted for qualifying the prelims, and paper 1 plus paper 2 would be the net score of prelims. And obviously paper 1 में उतना ज़्यादा delta नहीं मिलता था. The gap would be very low between the top guys and the 90th percentile guy. Whereas in CSAT, in UPSC, in the CSAT exam, this difference would be very high. And during 2010 to 14, it was the CSAT which was making people qualify or not qualify for the prelims. And after that, of course, it became qualifying. But I taught one batch when it was one year when it was qualifying at Ajira, and I used to tell my students there also that even though CSAT is qualifying and it's an aptitude exam, and 33%, a lot of people got very complacent about the 33% this thing. But as I keep telling people that if you start taking it too lightly, sometimes getting 33% in aptitude test is not so easy. You don't need to go too far away to understand what it means. If you look at the scoring patterns, of the CSAT and the various of various other exams, aptitude exams, you realize that there are two kinds of exams when you talk about aptitude exams. One is the exams which are high quality questions, which are based on high quality questions in all the areas. And the second exams are exams which are based on slightly easier questions. So slightly easier questions than this. And typically these exams, just say for example the SSC exam or the banking exam, compared to the CAT exam and the XAT exam, etc. So what happens in an aptitude exam, if you look at these exams, the high quality questions exams, इसमें अगर तुम 33% net score करते हो, if you can score net score of 33%, you are kind of around the 90-92 percentile range. That means only 8% people are able to score 33%. Only about 8% people are able to score 33% in these exams, in the high quality questions exam. In these exams, if you can score 50% net score, 50% net score in these exams, if you can score 50% net score, you get a 99 percentile. That means only 1% people are able to score 50%, right? And if you look at a 40% net score, it's around 95, 96 percentile score wise. That means around 4 to 5% people score 40%. So it's not as this thing. Even at the 33% net score level, you have only 8% people scoring it. When you go to exams which have easier questions like SSC, banking, and maybe placement papers of some some placement papers are built on easier questions, etc. And these are all aptitude. यहाँ पे देखोगे तो around 20-25% people will score 33% marks. Because when the moment you talk about will score this thing. So even in these exams, 70% people, 70-75% people, maybe 80% people don't qualify or don't get the 33% marks required because of two reasons. See, what happens in an aptitude test is that your time is limited. So the time is limited, and your skill of being able to solve every question that you encounter might not be there. Might not be there for every question that you encounter. So if you look at the CSAT pattern, for example, the 80 questions, 120 minutes, and almost nobody is able to finish these 80 questions in the paper. Right? Nobody is able to finish this 80 questions in this paper. So imagine somebody is able to process one question every 2 minutes on an average. So this person will end up solving 60 questions or seeing 60 questions. So if the paper is out of 80 questions and you end up seeing only 60 questions, so scoring 33% net score out of 80 questions means the score, I mean, ऐसे तो score 2.5 marks per question है, or -1 mark for negative है. That's the CSAT pattern. But if you, for analysis sake, if you think about it, okay, a question gives you 1 mark. So the qualifying level at 33% is around 20 out of 80 questions is around 25. या फिर 2.5 से analyze करते हैं, 200 question का paper है. So you are looking at a net score of 66 out of 200 when you look at the paper to start with. But if you're going to be able to see only 60 questions out of 80 and last 20 questions you have not reached in the paper because you're slow while solving, so automatically you are solving only out of 150 marks. So your challenge is now 44%, not 33%. The challenge is 44%. 150 का 44% तुमको score करना पड़ेगा to get 66. And while you can be sure of, I mean, there are 3 areas broadly when you talk about questions in CSAT. You have questions of 3 types. You got comprehension, you got basic numeracy, which is like the quants that you have in various exams, and you have reasoning. So while you can, these are the 2 solving areas, and in these 2 areas 2 + 2 = 4 works. But in the comprehension, you can never be sure of 100% accuracy. Nobody can be sure of 100% accuracy. The best people who solve comprehension, if they solve 20 questions in comprehension, absolute best, they'll get 17, 18 correct, because there's some ambiguity, some aspect which you'll misread, some aspect which you will not be able to understand. After all, these don't have 2 + 2 = 4 answers. There's a logic behind every answer. The logic is the strongest logic for the correct answer. But the best people will get a 17, 18 correct out of 20 attempts, which means that if you're attempting comprehension of 50 marks, if you are really good at comprehension, you are going to score, if you get 17 correct, so you are going to score 42.5 -3. So your best case scenario is that you're getting 80% marks out of what you solved. And if there are 35 questions on comprehension and you solved 20 questions and you're scoring only 40 marks, so you are then scoring 40 marks out of 87.5 questions marks, 2.5 marks per question. Then you see the percentages in the 40s. You're barely getting 42%, 45% marks. And if your percentage marks in basic numeracy is low because you're weak at it, or reasoning is low because you are not able to solve the questions there, so you are in trouble in that sense. So that's why the key point I'm trying to make here is that you need to be very careful with the CSAT exam. You cannot take it lightly. There have been cases where people have done very well in GS, and there are cases like that every year where people have done very well in GS, but when they came to the CSAT exam, they were not able to actually qualify that, and that's something that you need to be wary of. And specifically, when I talk about high quality questions and exams having high quality questions and exams having easy questions, CSAT started off, I mean, in comprehension. If you look at the 3 areas: comprehension, basic numeracy, and reasoning. The comprehension part of CSAT has always been in this category. The basic numeracy part of CSAT started off here, but if you see the CSAT 21 paper, the CSAT 20 paper, I can show you that individual questions in CSAT are nothing but direct takeoff from exams like CAT. So it has not reached exactly the CAT level, but you will see it is not here any longer. It is somewhere here, the basic numeracy of CSAT. right? And the reasoning also, I mean, and you know the way the UPSC thinks. The UPSC does not think of itself as an inferior institution to any other exam conducting body. So in an aptitude exam, it is very easy to create a paper which is where 33% is difficult to score unless your aptitude is well formed, right? And you should spend time in your aptitude preparation also during your specifically close to your prelims. You should spend some decent amount of time specifically for these two areas. And comprehension, of course, comprehension of work you can bundle with the work that you do for your GS, because when you're talking about improving your comprehension, there are two parts to it: increasing your reading and improving your solving. So as UPSC aspirants, you read a lot anyway. So this part you don't need to do, you just need to focus on the solving part of CSAT. But the basic numeracy and the reasoning, you actually need to practice quite a bit. और एक इसका secondary advantage ये है कि when you give UPSC, you are giving the UPSC exam once every year. So if you are prepared for aptitude along with that, you can take all the other government exams, because if you look at the other government exams, they're all based on aptitude. 80% of them are based on aptitude. Whether you talk about banking, you talk about SSC, you even talk about a lot of state level exams, etc. You talk about exams like CBI, you talk about RBI exam, etc. So aptitude and writing. So if you do the aptitude part for CSAT, this will also help you in taking all those exams, right? And while you're giving your UPSC, if you can get into one of those services, so the pressure goes off on the UPSC exam. Even if you don't want, let's say you're not a very serious banker, but you get a job at a good banking institution, you start working there, and you know that you're not going to spend your life there. But if you're working for 2-3 years there, it helps you in two ways. One, during a UPSC cycle for those years, your pressure is off you. It's not like the level of the deep blue sea. ये qualify करेंगे तो होगा, नहीं करेंगे तो समुद्र के नीचे दफना दिए जाएंगे, ऐसा तो नहीं होगा, पहला. और दूसरा, so the pressure will be off when you're taking the UPSC attempts. And second, when you go to the interviews, you'll have something more concrete to discuss and talk about if you're already working somewhere in some government or semi-government organization like that. So your interviews will also go a little bit better, and you'll be treated a little bit more seriously in interviews if you have come from a background where you have been working for a year or so. So the aptitude prep of CSAT makes sense in that context. So making time for it becomes an important component for that, right? So we have a course on the CSAT, which at Mindworks and at the Arun Sharma Academy. And this course basically on CSAT is essentially a subscription program. So it's a 1-year subscription course. We are not having any shorter courses right now. And it's a 1-year subscription course, और 1-year subscription में ही हम लोग जो CSAT 22 के लिए जाना चाहते हैं उसको cater कर रहे हैं. So we are going to have a complete the complete module in maths covered, and basic numeracy covered, and comprehension, and basic numeracy, comprehension, as well as reasoning covered in this timeline. I mean, we have an agenda to cover all this by the end of May, so that when you start your when you go to the UPSC, the D-Day, you are covered for all the chapters and all the courses. So we are doing this. This is a course in which being subscription, we have multiple teachers teaching multiple courses. And when you talk about basic numeracy, for example, I'll come to the portion of basic numeracy as we go ahead. But the whole basic numeracy will be taught by me. And the whole basic numeracy will also be taught by 3-4 other teachers. And we have some of our best teachers from our CAT team who are actually teaching the basic numeracy here. And basic numeracy has, if you look at the trend analysis, I'm just coming to the trends. Basic numeracy has gained a lot of importance in CSAT. I remember when I talk about basic numeracy, I remember the second year CSAT when I was teaching at Vajiraman Ravi, 2012 mein. uh, the CSAT exam had only 2 questions on basic numeracy, and people were so relieved by that, and people were asking me that padne ka zarurat hai kya quants or maths. But as you will see, the trend of the CSAT is something that goes from here. I'll come back to this slide about how it is different from an aptitude from other exams. But this is the trend of the CSAT over the last 10 years, starting from 2011. This was the last, I think this was the last year in which it was compulsory, or it was counted. From there, this time it has become qualifying. So even if you look at the qualifying years, just look at these areas. This top row is the comprehension row. This will give you the number of questions from 15 to 20, and just look. We'll just analyze this trend, but just look at these numbers. Then this communication interpersonal skills, I've kept this on this slide because of the fact that UPSC talks about this as one of the 7 areas in which they are going to test you, but there's been no question till now which will be a component or which will be a function of this part of the portion. But if you look at then decision making is something that used to come earlier in the CSAT. So this is also something which is out now. But if you look at this box, then I told you, when you prepare for CSAT, you have to look at basic numeracy. You look at basic numeracy. You have to look at reasoning, and you have to look at comprehension. 3 areas you have to look at. So when you look at the reasoning part, this is the box which is showing me the reasoning component of the CSAT every year, right? And you can see this, the amount of questions on reasoning starting in 2015 here is around 23 questions, followed by, there's around 23 questions here, followed by 26 questions the next year, followed by 21 questions in 2017, 24 questions in 2018, 18 questions in 2019, 14 questions in 2020, right? And but the biggest highlight here is just look at what is happening here in terms of the trend. The paper is becoming increasingly maths oriented. See this. Just look at this box. And this trend continued with the CSAT 21 exam. I don't have it on the slide, but 21 exam was also 40 plus questions, is basic numeracy. So imagine a scenario. You're never sure of your RC comprehension answers. You can never, nobody can be 100% sure of your comprehension answers. And as these questions have started becoming increasingly difficult and getting closer to the CAT pattern or the CAT level, you are on the back foot on 65 questions. And if your reasoning is also average, then you're actually on the back foot in the entire paper. And then scoring 33% becomes very difficult. Just see this, 25 questions here, 27 questions here, 28 questions in numeracy and data interpretation, 30, 32, 41, and repeated with 40 plus. Right, and what is happening now? Of course, there's a portion division between to these questions. There's a portion division that is there for these areas. So when you're preparing basic numeracy, it has to be prepared in 3 broad boxes: reasoning and analytical ability and general mental ability. There are 15-17 question types that you need to practice. And comprehension, of course, is comprehension. So that's just one question type. And English to English comprehension ये पहले होता था. This was not counted in those years, but ये खत्म हो गया. So you can see that this is also finished. So this is the trend of the CSAT, the trend analysis of the CSAT in terms of this thing. And before I come to the 33% and the risk involved, I want to come back first to the portion outline. So when you're talking about basic numeracy, basic numeracy has to be prepared under three broad outlines. These are number systems, the chapters, number systems, and progressions. This is what I call as the box of numbers. These two chapters have to be studied together. Then you have the area of arithmetic. So arithmetic mein you have the chapters are average, allocation, percentage, ratio, percentage, profit and loss, interest, time and work, ratio proportion, has to be in that order. That you studied ratio proportion, time and work, and time speed distance. And time speed distance then has its subparts, which are the chapters of boats, trains, games, and races of skill, circular motion. These chapters are there. This is the entire arithmetic that you do. And out of the 40 questions that you will get, approximately anywhere between 30 to 40 questions you can expect. The trend in the last couple of years has been close to 40. You can see that around 25 odd questions will come from here, 20 to 25. The majority of the questions will come from here. There'll be a lot of questions from this side also, HCF, LCM, etc. kind of questions. And then you also have questions which are coming from the third area, which is the modern maths area, which is permutation, combination, and probability, and set theory from these three chapters. So when you're talking about basic numeracy for CSAT, these are the 13 chapters to study. And what happens in every question that you do in the exam, there are some thoughts. I mean, essentially, a maths question gets solved by the execution of certain reactions. The math question gets solved by the execution of certain reactions. Just give me a second. Yeah, so a math question gets solved through the execution of certain reactions. And these reactions actually are, there are two kinds of reactions in the math question. And if you can master these two reactions in any math question, you'll be able to solve those questions easily. These reactions are the first reaction, the first kind of reaction is obeying instructions inside a question. So you do two things inside a math question. You obey instructions, and the second is you also, based on the situations that are emerging in the question, you also create some self-generated thoughts. Right? So these are two things you do in every maths question, right? So I'll show you a live demonstration of this, what it means. So what has to happen is every chapter, there are certain standard instructions that are there in every chapter in maths. So the language that is there in the maths question leads to standard instructions. For example, let's say in a chapter like time, speed, distance, if I make a statement which says that a car travels at 50 kilometers per hour for 4 hours. This statement has, if you obey the instructions that are there in the statement, the outcome that comes is that the car must have traveled 200 kilometers. Right? So when you enter a chapter, you first understand what the language of the chapter is and what the obeying instruction of the chapter means. And once you organize this, once you organize the obeying instructions part in your head, the second part of it is then some questions inside these chapters involves self-generated thinking. So being able to, some standard reactions come into the situation. So for example, if I give you another statement, the car travels at 70 kilometers per hour for 5 hours. So is the statement the reaction of 350 kilometers? And obviously, the self-generated thought here is that if it's traveled 200 kilometers and traveled another 350, I should be adding these two to get to my answer. So this is self-generated. There's no instruction to add this. That instruction has to come from your side, or that thought has to come from your side. So questions का difficulty level varies based on how much of the question is solved by this and how much of the question is solved by this. So an easy question will have 90% obeying instructions, 10% self-generated thinking, 95% obeying instructions, 5% self-generated thinking. A tough question might have only 40% obeying instructions, 60% self-generated thinking. So that's what, and obviously when you are entering a chapter, you're first focused on a topic to convert it into something which is strong for you, is to get hold of this 90%. And once this is in place, then you focus on this, and this will happen naturally. You don't need to worry too much. As you start getting more and more control of this starts happening. Right? So this is what you will need to understand. And essentially an aptitude test is different from other exams in the context that in an aptitude question step test, when a question comes in front of you, the role of memory is minimal. In your GS paper 1, etc., when you're solving a question, memory has a major role to play. So if you don't know about something, your knowledge is missing about a question, let's say about salt satyagraha, and your knowledge is missing about that, you can't solve that question no matter what you do. But so the memory is the most important component in other exams, in other tests, in a knowledge-based test. But in an aptitude test, memory is just 5% of the job. Right? You don't need to know the formula of the situation and this thing, but apart from that, it's about reactions. Your ability to execute the reactions. And in aptitude, a question demands in an aptitude exam, a question demands maybe 3 steps, 4 steps from you. It demands maybe 3 or 4 steps from you before you get to the answer. So getting those 4 steps done, making sure that, I mean, so when you're preparing for an aptitude exam, you are basically preparing for the quality and the precision. The quality of these reactions and the precision of these reactions. You are trying to develop both of this. You're not studying chapters for the sake of studying chapters. That's one of the mistakes people make in preparing for aptitude. So to give you an example, so that's the this thing, the quants this thing, and if you want to get over the 33% trap, the issue is what happens is if you're going to solve 40 questions and solve worth 100 marks in the paper out of 200, if you're going to attempt only 40 questions, strategy wise, if you're going to attempt only 40 questions out of in the paper out of 80, so and your qualifying is 66.66 marks, every question that goes wrong will drop your score from 100. If all the questions are correct, you will get a score of 100. But every question that goes wrong will drop your score by 2.5 marks because you're not getting the 2.5 marks that you wanted, and further drop your score by 1 mark because you're getting a negative score of -1. So net what happens is every question that goes wrong, you are 3.5 marks down. So if you have attempted only with 100 marks, you are in big danger of not qualifying because the gap between 40 and 100 marks and getting a 66.66 can get very quickly evaporated by only 8 to 10 errors. Only 8 to 10 errors. And sometimes under pressure, under time pressure, under pressure of the exam, in aptitude exam, we also make very silly errors in numeracy and reasoning questions. कभी 2 + 2 5 हो जाता है. इस तरह के errors भी होते हैं. तो कुछ errors तुम्हारे silly errors भी रहेंगे इसमें. So normally 10 to 20%, 10% errors तो normal रहता है because comprehension you can't get it exactly correct. So 10-15% errors normal होते हैं. On a bad day, you chose the wrong questions, you struggled with questions, you marked out of hope rather than out of a solution. Getting 10 errors and you're out. So when you're planning this paper, you have to plan to get to a solution of at least or at least 50 to 60 questions you have to be able to attempt. So that your attempt is around 125 to 150 marks. Your attempt should be around 125 to 150 marks. And then out of that, you've got a bigger cushion. 50 questions, 55 questions, 50 questions अगर attempt किए हो, तो 66 पे drop करने के लिए 125 question marks का attempt किए हो, so to drop to 66, you need to drop of 59 marks. At 3.5 marks drop for every question that goes wrong, you need to drop by around 15-16 questions incorrect. So as far as you're 34 plus correct, you are still qualifying then if you have attempted 50 questions. So the margin of error becomes larger. Right? Reasoning का जब बात कर रहे हो तो reasoning in CSAT is very different from reasoning in a lot of other exams. So reasoning जो CSAT का होता है वो is typically composed of around 15-17 topics which you need to study and which you need to practice. These include cubes and dice, clocks, races, calendars, direction test, blood relations, logical reduction, input output, coding decoding, syllogisms, script arithmetic. So you have these around 15-17 topics that you need to practice when you talk about reasoning. So reasoning is not very difficult to master because each of these question types has a specific way of solving it. And once you understand these question types, you're kind of done with those topics. So this is what you do when you're looking at your reasoning part. So you'll have to split your preparation into these parts. Now, just to give you a small sample, I wanted to open my CSAT paper. Let me just see. Give me a second. Yeah, just opening the CSAT 2021 paper. Just explaining to you what it means when we say that questions are split between uh, self-generated thinking and obeying instructions. So let's just do a couple of questions. I just want to show you a couple of questions here, which are dependent or where you are essentially using a mixture of self-generated thinking and obeying instructions while solving a question. So what I've done is I've opened a whiteboard here and I'm just going to share my screen. And these questions are all from CSAT 2021. So let's just do a couple of questions here to understand what it takes for you to get those marks inside this exam. Now just have a look at this. जैसे ये वाला question है, first वाला. This I will no longer. I mean, this is the. I mean, if you look at this question, these can actually be the quality of the questions is such that they can actually. They're asking you to do as much as a CAT question asks CAT aspirants to do inside this question. So what is this saying? In a class, let's look at this question 4. 60% of the students are from India. We put a full stop here. And the reaction at this point, obeying instruction, is that if there are 100 students, 60 are Indians and 40 are foreigners. And 50% of the students are girls. Now, this is the second division of the same class, where you're saying that this class of 100 students is split between 50 girls and 50 boys. So when you have a two-way split of the same 100 people, the same 100 people are split between Indians and foreigners, and the same 100 people are split between girls and boys. There are now 4 kinds of people in this picture: Indian girls, Indian boys, foreigner girls, foreigner boys. So this Indian will get split into 2 parts, girls and boys, and these foreigners, 40, will also get split into 2 parts, girls and boys. In your mind, you should be able to create this, and this is the self-generated thought. The question is not telling you this. At this point, the question is not telling you this. This self-generated thought, and you should also realize that the girls are Indian or foreigners, and the boys are also Indian or foreigners. And you should realize that foreigner boys who are foreigners, this number here will be the same as boys which are foreigners, which is this number here. These numbers will be same here. So coming back to the situation at hand, this is telling me if 30% of the Indian students are girls. So if you have this framework here available to you, your reaction is 30% of the Indian students. Indian students are 60, 30% of that is 18. So this Indian girls is a number like 18. So if this is 18, because Indians are 60, Indian boys will be 42. And if you get Indian girls and Indian boys from here, you can also put them here. Indian girls are 18 and Indian boys are 42. And if you get Indian girls as 18 from here, then you can get foreigner girls as 32. And foreigner girls is also the same number here. So foreigner boys must be 8. And this 8 you can get from here also, and you can get it from here also. So the question will ask you about one question like this. So what percentage of foreign students are boys? What percentage of foreign students are boys? So there's this thing. So if you look at foreign students, it's 40, and boys are 8 out of 40. So 8 out of 40 represents a 20% value. So this means that there are 20% students who are foreigners. 20% of the foreign students are boys. This becomes the answer. So if you see this is a respectable question, because the majority of this question, what we did with the statement was obeying instruction. What we did with this statement was obeying instruction. But then what we did here was basis a self-generated thought. Right? And if you're not ready for executing this inside the exam, you've got no chance of getting this question. Right? And that's one of the reasons. If you look at the difference between, if you look at big time aptitude exams, which have got a history of 30, 40, 50 years, you look at exam like CAT, which is supposed to be the toughest aptitude exam. Why it is tough compared to others is because of the, if you look at the questions, a lot of the questions inside the exam are, they go beyond obeying instructions and asking you to execute thoughts. Right? And when these questions ask you to execute thoughts, which are outside outside what the question is telling you, if you have those self-generated thoughts, these thoughts you can't build inside the exam. एग्जाम के अंदर उतना नहीं होगा. तो ये रिएक्शन अगर पहले से प्रोग्राम है तुम्हारे पास, ऐसे सिचुएशन में ऐसा होता है, then you can actually solve it. Otherwise, this question is going to become something that you can't solve. Right? Let's look at the second question, the second one here. I'll be doing a few YouTube videos where I'll be looking at these questions and solving them for you. So let's look at the second question. From January 1, 2021, the price of petrol in rupees liter on M day of the year is 80 plus 0.1 M. Now, 80 plus 0.1 M, where M is equal to 1 to 100. So what does this mean? This is meaning that the price of petrol is going up by 10 paise every day. That's what it means. Where mth day of the year, and it's going up by 10 paise every day for 100 days, and thereafter remains constant. On the other hand, the price of diesel in rupees per liter on the end day of 2021 is 69 plus 0.09515 N. So on the nth day of the year, the price of diesel, this is the price of petrol, is 69 plus 0.15 N for any N. That means N can go from 1 to 365. They're asking which date of the year 2021 are the prices of these fuels equal. So this question is leaving you completely on self-generated thinking. What do you do with these two equations? The answer is, the thinking is this. The most common this thing, if I have to teach this question to a school kid, I'll teach him this way. This petrol has an 11 rupee advantage right now to start with. So it has an 1100 rupee advantage, 1100 paise advantage. And diesel and petrol will become equal on the day this advantage comes down to 0. So for the first 100 days, every day petrol price is rising by 10 paise and diesel price is rising by 15 paise. So diesel, for the first 100 days, diesel is catching up at the rate of 5 paise per day. So after 100 days, this advantage that petrol has will come down to 600. After that, the price of petrol is stopping its increase, and diesel is still going up by 15 paise per day. So if diesel is still going up 15 paise per day, to cover 600 paise, it will require 40 days. So So 100 days plus 40 days, 140th day of the year is the answer. This is the simplest thought in this question. This question can be solved in much more complicated ways. I think if you look for a solution of this question on the internet, on various YouTube channels, you'll find much more complicated ways of solving this. This is the easiest way to solve it. So 140th day of the year, since it's 2021, it's a non-leap year. 31 in January, 28 in February, 31 in March, that's 90 days, 30 in April, 120, and 20 in May. So 140th day of the year is 20th May. So this is the answer to the question. And just to give you a insight of why I was telling you that that this is completely built on. I mean, there is so much correlation between where the CSAT is taking you these days. Just wanted to show you one question from CAT 2007. Just wanted to show you one question from CAT 2007. Just opening the file for that. Just give me a second. There's a question called the Darjeeling Tea UTT question. From CAT 2007. Just opening that file for you. Give me a second. I'm not getting in one of the files, so I'm looking at it on the internet. Look at this question. I'm just going to take a screenshot of this and show you this question. Just look at this question from CAT 2007 and just compare it to the question that you see below it. This is a question from CAT 2007. This is a question from CSAT 2021. Even the answer is not changing. The only thing is the story has changed from Darjeeling tea to petrol. N has changed to M. And they have changed this 80 to 100 and 69 to 89. That's it. 89 to 69. This 100 has been changed to 80 and this 89 has been changed to 69. Exactly ditto same question, and the same logic applies in this question also. Darjeeling tea has an 11 rupee advantage, which means an 1100 paise advantage. And if you read the functions properly, every day for the first 100 days, UTT is catching up by 5 paise per day. So 500 paise is going to be the advantage of 1100 paise is going to get dropped by 500 paise after 100 days. And after that, Darjeeling tea remains constant. So UTT, the remaining advantage is 600 paise, and UTT is going to cover it at 15 paise per day. So it'll take 40 more days. End of story. So 140 days, and this was 2007, non-leap year. So 20th May is the answer. So this is just a brief introduction. What's happening in the CSAT? You need to understand this to be able to prepare yourself in such a way that you qualify this exam. And as I said, when you're preparing aptitude, and as anyway you're going to prepare aptitude, make sure that you prepare the aptitude not just for the CSAT, but also for all other government exams which are parallel to your UPSC exam. Of course, not as prestigious, but you even if you're not looking at those as careers and you want to become an IAS officer and you want to spend your time there in your life, but at least for an interim, this is not a bad fallback option. You at least have something in hand to show for the years you're spending. So the Mindworks program, as I said, we've got a full team of around 10-12 trainers who are going to repeatedly do courses. But the biggest advantage of our program is that the courses are coordinated with each other. It's not like anybody teaching anything and going away. It's coordinated with each other, and you will get our faculty team. As I said, you've got me, Arun Sharma, for quants and reasoning. You've got Deepanshu Agarwal, who's got almost 7-8 year experience as an aptitude trainer for various aptitude exams. He's there. Said Khan sir, he's been teaching for almost 10-11 years now as an aptitude trainer. He's also part of our team. He's also very popular around North India, Lucknow and all. Then we've got Mayank Singh. Mayank sir, who used to teach with me at Vajiram. He taught for almost 5 to 7 years at Vajiram, and he's also there with us in our teaching team. We've got Anit Suri sir. We've got Sunil Sharma sir. These are all guys who, Anit Suri is a 100 percentile in CAT. I'm Bangalore graduate. Sunil Sharma is one of the leading faculties of East India in quants. He's been teaching for almost 20 odd years for quants, etc., quants and reasoning. So this is our team, quants and reasoning team. And then for verbal, for comprehension, you will have some classes from my side also. Then Meenakshi ma'am is heading the comprehension part. She is also an ex-Vajiram faculty. Meenakshi Upadhyay ma'am is heading the comprehension part. She is also an ex-Vajiram faculty, Vajiram and Ravi faculty. I'll be also taking some sessions. Meenakshi Upadhyay ma'am will be taking sessions. Then we also have Pinaki Negi, who's FMS graduate, FMS Delhi graduate, and also been training for aptitude. She's also an expert in UPSC exams, etc. So she'll be taking part of your comprehension course. And the price of the product is 1 year is just 9,999. We might mail you some offers or give you some offers from our side for the next couple of days. You can wait for these offers to come to you and register for this. And what we are doing is, in this subscription, our objective in the subscription is to make it as valuable to you as possible. So while our focus for the next 3 months is only on CSAT, after that we'll also have essay writing, improving your writing skills, etc. Those kind of modules will also keep happening for within the same case study analysis, etc. for your ethics paper, etc. We'll be doing those kind of small modules also within the subscription. And of course, post May, June, you will get a chance to cover the whole portion again in a more leisured fashion if you're preparing for this. So you can enroll for this, and you will be listening with us in this context. So right, thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to all of you. I hope you got a fair idea of what you need to do and how you need to prepare. Timeline wise, I think if you are now in March, you have to keep a timeline of around 4 days per chapter for the 12-13 chapters that we have talked about in maths. Every 4 days you finish one chapter and you continue that till let's say end of April, early May tak khatam ho jayega tumhara pura portion. You can do it that way. Any questions, any queries? Anybody before I wind up? No? Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone. Anybody would like to speak? I can unmute you also. Chalo, ठीक है. So you can either type in the chat, or you want to get unmuted, you can raise your hand and I'll unmute you for any questions. ठीक है, no questions? Chalo. Thank you so much. Bye bye everybody. See you.